in the full packet, because they got
They're not
the
live.
packet this morning.
Okay, we are live. Welcome, everybody. This is a regularly scheduled city council workshop. Today is Monday. Have to think about that, January 8th, 2024. Around the table, we have Councillor Schaefer. We good? Yep. Thank you. Councillor Dean, Councillor Fish, Councillor Haas, Councillor Yakabaga, Councillor Fournier, myself, Councillor Pelletier, Councillor Tremble. We have City Manager Lori, and Councillor Leonard is here. He has stepped out of the room, but we will return. So first thing on the agenda, we have ARPA County Partnership Opportunities.
Yes. So in mid-December, we chatted at a council meeting. We get part of our manager updates is that we talked about, Councilor Fournier and Council Chair Pelletier and I actually went to a county commissioners meeting to kind of discuss the remaining partnership opportunities for ARPA. So the city had a couple of requests that it put forward. When the city council approved its $400,000 of funding to the Heart of Maine United Way for the creation of the community, which is a nonprofit hub to fill gaps in the nonprofit sector. Key strategy to advancing collaboration of social service providers and other nonprofits, and clearly I can't spell on Saturdays. And then the other thing we had suggested is that they perhaps split the cost of the improvements to Wellspring that the city council had authorized. The Wellspring, just as a reminder, the Wellspring project, they are looking to move into a new building. The building in itself would add 2 to 4 medically supervised withdrawal beds and up to 14 stabilization beds, which can provide up to 45 days of treatment and care post-detox or while awaiting admission for a higher level of care. You may recall the state of Maine stepped up and agreed to fund the interior renovations. And Wellspring approached the city and said, we never thought we'd be in a position where we actually be able to address the exterior needs as well. And the city council agreed to fund that. So the county commissioners at that meeting had indicated a desire for the city council to consider participating in funding of a generator for the Bangor Nursing and Rehabilitation Center. And I will point out that the city's public health department is a tenant in that building. And also to participate in some way with funding for community care, which is more commonly known as Shaw House, to fund improvements in their youth shelter. I think, I'm not going to speak for Councilor Fournier and Council Chair Pelletier, but I think the conversations we had is that we value the opportunity to partner with one another. The county commissioners, clearly with 3 members present, their entire elected body, had sort of a different opportunity. Councilor Pelletier and Fournier shared that, you know, we're 2 of 9. Happy to hear what you have to say. So the county commissioners last week did meet, and they came forward with an official proposal that I got Friday afternoon. So what I received for information from the county commissioners is that they would agree to provide $350,000 in funding to the Heart of Way United Way. It's just shy of the city's request. County commissioners shared there's value to many communities and counties served by Heart of Maine United Way. The city's award of $400,000 was contingent on a match from Penobscot County. $350,000 feels pretty much like a match, but obviously we need to go ahead and amend our council order if we move forward with all of these. The other thing is that county commissioners did agree to provide $220,000 in funding and split the cost with the city for the Wellspring exterior improvements. They also note it's a valuable resource, provides service for many in our area. So we had already done the council order to award the whole amount, so we should likely consider amending that order to reflect the county's participation. Do you want to stop there, or do you want me to go to the
Sure, it
end?
looks like.
Yeah,
And
okay.
Councilor Fournier?
I'm fine with the Wellspring.
Yeah.
I'm fine with Heart of Maine,
Okay,
and I'm fine with Shaw House or community care.
Okay.
I'm not so set on the Bangor nursing. I know it probably sounds horrible, but historically, we've given them well over $2 million. And I know it's been over a long period of time, but we have been incredibly supportive.
Mhm.
So would the generator
Mhm.
affect the health department at all, or is it just their wing?
No,
It would be the whole building?
it's the whole building.
All right, I'm waffling.
Counselor Yakubaga?
My question on this, so we know that we have had discussions about the department moving to a different building.
Public health?
The lease was supposed to end at some point, and there were discussions about finding another location.
Yeah.
So when is this supposed to happen?
So, we haven't finalized it, and obviously with Patty's retirement and they're in a number of other things. I think it's something that we'll look at with the next director. The way our lease is written, we need to provide 2 years of notice if we find,
So,
but conversely, if they want us to leave, they need to provide 2 years of notice, because we can't relocate an entire operation overnight. And I will say that the rental income that we pay to the nursing home, with the state of finances and nursing homes in this state, it's really a critical piece of their revenue stream to be able to allow them to continue to provide the care that they do.
so which means if we agree to this, it's
Yeah.
worth it because we're gonna be in that building for at
At
least,
least.
okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Counselor Trumbull?
Yeah, I mean, on these items, on the first one, on the, was it Wellspring, they wanna do 350? No,
No,
the
I mean,
Heart of Maine,
Yep,
I don't favor the match, I just think we maintain our 400,000, but
yes,
take the 350, so.
yes.
On the end, Wellspring seems great, I'm in favor of the other ones as well, at 50,000 is really an insignificant amount when you look at our ARPA funding and what we would get for benefit. I actually had supported St. Joe's request for a generator, but it didn't score very well, so it never got to our level, but, it just seems like a good investment. And I think this outreach by the county is significant. I mean, these aren't really, some of these are regional, but I mean, a lot of them are gonna benefit people in Millinocket and Lincoln. They're really Bangor projects, and I think it's great that they are gonna partner with us on these.
Counselor Schaefer?
My question is just, so like the generator,
Mhm.
do they not have a generator there now?
I
Like
I believe they have some, I don't
Something.
know, I didn't take the application, so the overall cost was 150,000, because we didn't talk about that. County's gonna kick in 50, they're asking the city to kick in 50, and they're suggesting that Covenant, obviously, they received a significant donation, and so we're a three-way partner, if you will.
Okay, well, that was gonna be my other question, like,
Yep.
where it doesn't add up to the
Yep.
ask. Same thing with Shaw House.
Yep,
Are we doing 1.3 or are we just doing a match and?
so we're doing a match, so Shaw House put in a very large application for a lot of items. And what the county commissioner settled on is they felt that funding the interior and exterior renovations and the upgrades to the HVAC, heating, ventilation, and air conditioning system were priorities. So, the 550, that they are committing, and they're asking us to commit 552, gets us to $1.1 million. And they would be eligible for forgivable loan financing through Misha.
Okay. Yeah, then those are just my questions and those are answered, so I would support all of these.
Counselor Yakubaga? did you
Yeah, I
have
just
one?
wanted to say, I had those questions, but I definitely support the rest. I feel they're trying to meet us.
Yeah.
They're in the middle, and I feel the numbers are reasonable, so, yeah.
Any other questions, comments?
Yeah, I just want to lay out a comment. Just wanted to just thank the county commissioners for coming forward. I mean, this is just shy of $1.2 million in collaboration for programs that are going to benefit not just the county, but also prioritizing Bangor's needs as well. And my hope is that this is going to further establish future collaborations with the county, especially with the upcoming opioid settlement funds. I think we can do, learning from the ARPA process. What I would like to see is us, before we even receive those funds, to already have a conversation with the county commissioners to figure out what can we, not just in our own municipalities, but regionally as well. So I just want to, thank all three county commissioners for stepping up and coming forward with this.
Debbie, as we were sitting here waiting for the meeting to start, there was a question about Where does this leave us in terms of unallocated funds?
Oh,
So, great.
yes, back page. So on the back page of your packet, prior to this evening, so I ended up having to true everything back up. Because with the county contributing funds, it's the very last page in the workshop. With the county contributing funds to Wellspring we had already sort of committed, we had to undo and redo some calculations. So prior to, I do believe I hear support to allocate the $600,000 for those two projects. So having said that, the city will still be sitting at $3,181,000 of unexpended funds. And I'm hoping here within the next month, we'll be coming forward with a specific project related to housing, to kind of circle back to the housing priority that the council has established.
Thank you. Any other questions or thoughts about ARPA before we move on? Yes, Councilor Conrad.
So when we were doing this the last time, we did a roll call vote on where people stood. I don't know how you want to do that, or
Sure, should
if
we,
you want to,
it is a lot of money, so perhaps we should. Thank you. Appreciate that.
maybe you could just roll it as a slate.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll do a roll call vote. A yes vote is to support the ARPA request as outlined in the memo from the city manager. Does that make sense to everyone? Okay, Councilor Fournier,
Yes.
Councilor Yakabaga,
Yes.
Councilor Haas,
Yes.
Councilor Fish,
Yes.
Councilor Dean,
Yes.
Councilor Schaefer,
Yes.
Councilor Leonard,
Yes.
Councilor Trumbull.
Yes.
And I will be a yes. It is unanimous.
I know. Woo-woo.
Thank you.
All right.
Manager updates.
Well, my goodness, we've rolled through things much faster than I thought. You're very efficient tonight, so I thank you for that. I had a couple of things. Just wanted to let the council know that our comprehensive plan has been accepted by the state of Maine. It's found to be consistent with and in compliance with the Growth Management Act. Big thanks. A lot of people did a lot of heavy lifting on that. We've spent a lot of time, but a big thanks to Ann and Anya who did the yeoman's work on that. So thank you to them for getting us through this long and very public process. Next, that means we're going to turn our attention to the implementation phase. So while we're in the community and economic development realm, and the finance director mentioned about staffing, we're up a staff person today in business and economic development. We've added our business development analyst today. They are continuing to interview last week and this week planning analysts, and I believe there's interview later this week for business development officer. So we're all keeping our fingers crossed that we're starting to see some movement there. And now, because I have time, and Courtney and I had a discussion earlier today, I'll just say that we are beginning to see an uptick in applications in some areas. So that's really good to see. We're seeing a higher number, and in many ways, a more qualified number as well. So we're seeing that we still have areas that we don't have as many applicants as we'd like, but we're seeing a bunch of areas rebound. So it's a good thing to see. One of those being the fire department. We actually had a significant uptick in applications. Those that had the basic medical qualifications, as well as significant amount of interest in the education program that we're going to do in
Right.
February. So that's a big win.
What about the housing?
So, yeah, those have not been good.
Oh, okay.
Nope. Nope, and we keep going to fish for people too. And everybody we talk to says everybody's looking for housing people, you can't find them. So, yeah. We have to take the wins where we can get them, and we're gonna choose to be positive for the
We'll get
others.
there.
That's correct. Last week I did have an opportunity to meet with a representative from the governor's administration, Maine State Housing in Penquis. I'm just trying to get a status on the Pine Tree Inn. That project still has not finally closed. The lending has not closed. They tell me that in the next, one person was on vacation, so they weren't sure how it was going to. They're hoping it will either be green lighted, to move forward with a limited order to proceed to the contractors either this week or next week.
Is it the rehab one? They purchased the property of John.
Correct,
It's
they've
the
purchased,
rehab
it's the
one.
rehab, yep, yep, so we continue to push. Speaking of pushing and following up, later this week, I'm gonna be chatting with Penobscot Community Health. Just to check in and see how their discussions are coming with finding a partner to take over the Hope House. So I just want to kind of check in. It's been a couple of months since we chatted, so I just wanted to check in and see how
I
that's
have a
going.
question, please, about
Yeah.
ARPA money that we granted.
Yes.
To them.
Yes,
Can you remind me what it was for?
sure,
Was it the Hope House?
yes.
So, okay, so what are we gonna do about this?
So it's one of the questions that the CEO asked me before they went public, and what I had shared with her is that the council understands and values the resource that a low barrier shelter presents in our community. Understand the need to reconfigure and change the space. So I said, I don't believe the council would pull back that funding, provided a qualified operator steps forward. The way the agreements are structured, there is an assignability clause in there. So provided that we have some certainty that the operations will continue. Yep, I would anticipate there would be no objection to any of us assigning that grant.
yeah.
Correct. Yeah, because it's a resource.
Yeah, absolutely. If there
Yep.
is, like, I feel like contingent on, having partners who are gonna
Correct.
be, running the
Yep.
program.
I added a new one because Councilor Leonard mentioned the opioid settlements. So we're actually, I had the opportunity to talk to the chair of the Maine Recovery Council, who's actually overseeing sort of the largest part of that money. I think they are closing in on their plan. I know they've made some initial allocations, but the broader allocation. So she and I had chatted about the fact that we'd really like to see that and wrap that into our discussion to see how we might augment the state's resources and or identify gaps as to where we may backfill. I did also have an initial conversation with the county some time ago. It's been a while, and at that point, I think they have concerns about the need for opioid monies within their own operations. So I'm not sure it's going to be a community-wide as much, but obviously a possibility. But I think we need to look for the Maine Resource Council to kind of get a little bit closer to finalizing their work. I know we talked about it earlier, but it's sitting here on Tuesday and they're talking about a storm. So we have heard from Versant. They will have additional crews here from Canada tomorrow. So hopefully that we're positioned again to see. I think they will continue to have twice a day updates, and then there's a daily call. So I'm hoping tomorrow afternoon. Obviously, projecting the weather is a bit of an art. And every hour that you can get closer, the better and more accurate the picture is going to be. So it's likely tomorrow afternoon we'll have a better sense of the timing. This one is going to be a little bit different. It's going to start with snow. And that estimate is all over the board. And then we're going to have temperatures warm up. We're going to change to rain, and we're going to have wind. The good news is while they are still talking about substantial wind, and I will say again, from the southerly direction, which was what the problem, we have problems when the wind comes from the south. So it is coming that way again. It doesn't appear, at least right now, that the winds will be of the same ferocity as they were the last time. Not to say we're not going to still have gusts. The snow is going to complicate things a bit, but depending on when the warm up happens and when the changeover happens, the snow may not be on the trees when the wind comes. We're also hopeful that the ground is a little more solid because we have had some cold temperatures, but we'll be sure to circle up tomorrow. The regular group is looking at that. And last week, we actually had representatives from FEMA on site looking at our piles of debris. So we'll see how things play out tomorrow. I'm hopeful it is not nearly as significant, and I believe that perhaps we have the ear of some folks that if we say there's a problem somewhere, they're not to discuss. So hopefully that pans out.
In talking to a lineman in the family,
Yes.
one of the concerns that they have is that there's a lot of weakened,
Trees.
trees,
Yep.
with the foundation. And that some trees just toppled without any wind in the past week. So,
Huh.
they're a little concerned about what the wind, even though other conditions are favorable.
Right,
There's some conditions that happened from the last storm
Yep.
that make it rather interesting.
dicey. I was gonna choose to be positive.
Well, the plus side is that the trees that fell in the last storm cannot fall again. Those were probably your worst ones and they're gone now. Nice for the next worst one.
That's my hope. That's my hope. My only last, bit of item is, obviously, we've had a lot of, communication today from people, and feedback from, I think it's related really to the BDN article about, restrooms in public parks. Just to be clear, the conversation we had identified some public parks to consider. That was part of the discussion. The council voted to move forward. The committee voted to move forward with considering funding for public restrooms. The order itself is written in that it just directs for public amenities. It does not designate the locations. And I think we probably should have been a little clearer that, you know, these are the areas that we're looking at. We'll obviously have public discussion before anything gets finalized as where it's cited, where it's located, and really try to address some concerns that have been raised by folks. But just because we identified those as potential sites doesn't mean it's a done deal. And, you know, it gives us the opportunity to come back. So I just wanted to make that
So just to
clarification.
be clear tonight, we can still move forward and approve the funding.
Correct.
And then the public comment on sites and locations and whether we phase in with, by trying a few here and there
Yeah,
is all things that can happen later.
yes.
Thank you.
Because if you think about it, by the time we do an RFP to actually construct these
Right.
units, by the time we get it out, by the time we get it back, we've got a timeline. But if we wait too long, we'll always be behind the 8 ball.
Counselor Dean?
After reading all the comments, my question is, if we do decide on certain sites and
Yeah.
then later decide we don't
Yeah.
like that site, there's no reason we can't move it.
That's correct. And
They're
that's,
not a permanent structure.
no, and
So
that's the
if we-
beauty of these units.
Mhm.
Is they are meant to be easily relocated if they don't. It's actually something that Portland found. They tried units in a couple of locations and found it didn't work, and they were actually able to relocate them.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think that's a good idea, so we won't know until we try it,
That's
That's
correct.
right.
and we can't keep stalling.
No pun
No pun. The other item that I saw, and it hasn't really resulted in a whole lot of inquiries at this point, but I see that the certificate of need that's been filed for the rehab facility to be located on Union Street. So it's a pretty significant medical operation. The developers and those involved with the project, they are not required to, but they did reach out to Dave Subject, myself, and Creed. So we actually talked to them a couple of weeks ago. And they laid out what the services they're gonna be offering, who they're talking to in the community. This is a smaller unit that used to be an operation of Northern Life that they've ceased doing. So we talked about the fact that, you know, the council would be really interested in if Northern Light is supportive, if Covenant and St. Joseph's Healthcare is supportive. We talked about concerns related to, you know, sort of, the ravaging of the workforce locally. Concerned that, you know, a new provider in a community that's already struggling to meet the healthcare needs of the existing organizations, that we couldn't have sort of that, you know, picking off from, you know, it may help you, but now it hurts us in another way. So they had a pretty robust plan as to how they would bring through employees and that kind of an item. So it's very early in the process. They are going through that. We also suggested, it's a pretty large site. As if you're familiar with that particular lot, we suggested that perhaps they talk about or look at whether or not they could incorporate workforce housing on the site to try to address, especially if they're going to be looking at bringing in folks from other parts of their operations. So
It's a for-profit.
it is a
taxable,
for-profit.
right?
Yep. Yep. Yep.
So it's behind McDonald's and Union where they used to have a driving range.
Yep, that's the property. It is a big lot.
They needed at least 11 acres. I don't know.
We also suggested that when they were looking at it, because it does have, so that lot does have, frontage on Union Street. It's a
Oh,
sliver,
yeah.
it's a sliver.
Mm.
We suggested that they really talk with, the owners of the airport mall to see if they could help facilitate traffic, through an already signalized
Mhm.
intersection. It would be tough to put another curb cut in there.
Mm.
The good news is, you know, you may need to look at that, and I said it in the meeting, and now John's left, so I can say it again. I said, I'm not a traffic engineer, but I think our traffic engineer might have something to say on that, so. That's all I had for these parts.
So I wanted to let everybody know that I have an opportunity to go to the Maine State Chamber of Commerce Legislative Summit. Say that 10 times fast, which is happening at Sunday River on February 1st and 2nd. They've invited the mayors of Augusta, Biddeford, Lewiston, or Auburn, I can't remember which one, a handful of mayors to talk about housing, homelessness, and economic development. So I will be working with the city manager to draft the talking points for that, but wanted to let you all know in case anyone had questions or concerns.
Congratulations.
Thanks, should be interesting.
She throws a ball off a building,
Yes.
she goes and talks to the chamber.
Yes,
I move we go into executive session, one MRSA 456A personnel.
second. We have a motion, we have a second, we need a roll call vote. Counselor Leonard,
Yes.
Counselor Schaefer.
Yes.
Counselor Dean.
Yes.
Counselor Fish.
Yes.
Counselor Paz.
Yes.
Counselor Yakabaga.